What's up? It's me, Rachel, owner of I Am Raquel, an author of How to Wear a Crown, and we're here for Motivation Monday. So today, while I'm waiting for you guys to pop on, if you're watching this right now, listening to me say this, then you can hashtag replay. But for Motivation Monday, I prayed and I meditated. I'm really excited about Motivation Monday right now because this is going to be the beginning of 3 free lives that I'm going to do every single week. Motivation Monday, you can tune in on Wednesdays at 10 for Worthy Wednesday, and then you can tune in on Friday for Free Flow Friday. And I'm really excited to be able to offer this free group every single week. And I'm thriving right now, right? Of course. Let me show you. Oh my God. I've got my Thrive patch on, feeling good, feeling energetic. So I guess that would be like the first thing that I would talk about for Motivation Monday today, is that when you physically are not in good health, it's hard to be motivated mentally, and it's hard to feel good emotionally, because all of our bodies are connected. And I know you're sitting there thinking, bodies, like I've got one body, what are you talking about? No, we've got 4 bodies. We've got a physical body, an emotional body, a mental body, and a spiritual body, and they all kind of work in sync together to make us feel like a whole, healthy, functioning person. So when one of those bodies is out of whack, then it can throw off the rest of you. So making sure you start your day with something that is nutritious, with some movement, with some water, with like taking a look, tuning into that physical body to see what you need, really can just set you on a good trajectory to be able to think about the rest of your bodies. If you've ever heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? It's a pyramid style chart that shows that when your basic needs are not met, then it's hard for a human being to think about anything else. So if you're wondering why maybe like mentally you've been a mess, emotionally you've been a mess, when you're in those states, get back down to the physical. Like, let's keep it simple, keep it basic. Let's get all the way down to business, right? Back to basics. So that's why I like to start my mornings like this. But as you guys are popping on, I'm seeing some people popping on. You can comment if you have any, if you want to add anything, if you have questions, if you want to participate in that way, or you can just sit back and chill and listen, and that's fine too. So when I was praying and meditating on Motivation Monday, before I started this live, the message that I received to talk about was suicide. And I know it's like, wah, wah, wah. That's not really like a good, like a motivation topic. That's not what I came here for. Though, well, you know what? It's got to be today, right? Because Spirit spoke and I got to listen. So we're talking about suicide. So I think that's the state of being that's like when I've experienced the least amount of motivation in my life. Like, you can't really have much motivation for anything else when you want to die all the time, right? If you don't even want to exist, how can you have much motivation for anything else? So it's hard, right? And like I'm talking about, I think that's the most basic, even more basic than like thriving, right? Physically, even more basic than those things. If I don't have the desire to even want to live, then I don't care about putting the nutrition in my body, right? I don't care about finding the shelter. I don't care about making the money. I don't care about, those basic human life needs if I don't even want to live. So I think that's really when we get down to the core of what creates motivation it's first that hope and desire to want to survive, right? So we have to have that if we're going to be able to want to wake up every day and do anything else on that Maslow's hierarchy of needs that I was talking about, right? So it starts with our physical. So how do we want to be here? One of the things that I've noticed about like my own mental health and time periods where I dipped in to that feeling of not wanting to exist. What I've come to realize as I've, gained emotional intelligence about myself is that I usually don't want to die, right? And I think that most people that experience suicidal ideation don't want to die, really. But we don't want to exist here. And that's the kind of things that you'll hear amongst people who experience suicidal ideation, is that they don't want to be here anymore. They don't want to be here. And what are we really talking about when we say that, when we're in a state of suicidal ideation? Is it, I don't want to be at my house? Is it, I don't want to be at this place? Is it really that you don't want to be in the world at all? And I don't think that that's true. I think it's that we don't want to exist in our current vibrational state of being. So wherever you're at, you don't want to exist in that state of mind. You don't want to exist in that current vibrational state of being. So then the question arises of, how do I transcend suicide as a demon? When Satan tried to get, Scott says that suicide is a demon, and when Satan tried to get Jesus to throw himself off of a mountain, he tried to get him to commit suicide. And the demon possessed the man, cutting himself. Satan wanted him to commit suicide. I don't remember. I've never actually learned that story from the Bible, but I think that demonic things are low vibratory states, and that's definitely in alignment with what I'm talking about here, which is that we have to transcend the low vibratory state that we're in, right? So how we move from a low vibratory state to a higher vibratory state of being. It's all about seeking whatever type of joy, whatever type of happiness, whatever type of things that can give you hope for the moment, and you can move in to that different place. I know that's easier said than done, especially those of you who have maybe experienced that suicidal ideation before. That's easier said than done. But all you need is a glimmer, right? You need a glimmer of hope that can begin to help you to feel better. And so Abraham Hicks, if you guys know Abraham Hicks, she speaks a lot of energy and vibration and how to move into those better states. And the way that she would kind of do it is she calls it going on a rampage, right? So we're going on a rampage. And what that rampage is a conscious choice to focus. You want more pancakes? It's a conscious choice to want more pancakes. No, it's not. It's a conscious choice to move into a better feeling state, is what Abraham Hicks would call it. A better feeling state. So what that means, create the vibration. The feelings create the vibration. So it's a thought, and then it's a feeling, and then it becomes your vibrational state of being. So that's what we're going to do to move into a better vibrational state of being. And so one little thing, right? Even if it's just that the wind feels good when it goes against your face. Even if it's that the sun feels warm when it shines on your body, right? You have to find one little thing. And then once you experience that feeling of big, what things are good about the whole world in general, right? What things are good about the whole world in general? Well, sun is nice. Sun feels good, right? Well, what else feels good? Well, it feels good to, stand in my body and know that I have a body, right? You can kind of start general, and then you can kind of hone in on what things are more joyous in your current reality. Let me see what else is based on. Okay, Scott says that when Jesus cast the demons into a herd of pigs, they ran off a cliff. Wow. Okay, there we are. Okay. It says that Scott says when Jesus cast the demons into a herd of pigs, they ran off a cliff, which is demonic possession once you're dead. Okay, so I think, that when we experience pain, an immense amount of pain, our brains, are seeking solutions all of the time too. And when we're in an immense amount of pain, one of those possible solutions is to get out of here, right? Just to get out of here. Like, that is a possible solution. So also, besides seeking joy in little ways out externally that we can find, we can try to seek some joy in some small ways and some understanding, right? To have a little understanding for ourselves. Because I think a lot of times we feel a lot of uncomfortable feelings about what suicidal ideation is. Like that nobody will understand us, like that we're doing something horribly wrong by thinking this way, that it means something bad or wrong about us. But if we can kind of understand what's happening in our brain and realize that this is just one of the possible solutions, and then you can kind of honor your brain, right? You can thank your brain. You can say, thank you for doing your thing. Thank you for acknowledging, right, that one of the many possible solutions to my problem right now, but that's not the one that I'm going to choose. But, right, when we're seeking solutions, that means that we have some hope. So then you can go ahead and acknowledge the fact that you do have some hope and grow from there. Well, why do I have this hope? What would that hope be for? Is it for me? Is it for my family? Is it for this? Is it for that, right? Kind of dive into that hope and then grow upon it and build upon it. Because sometimes it's just hard to see what there is to live for when you're in that really dark space. And we can get there for a lot of reasons. And sometimes just because we logically or rationally understand that we have things to live for, you can still experience the feeling of a suicidal ideation. Even though logically you know that this isn't the right way to go, this isn't what I want to do, that's not a plausible option for me, right? You can know all those things and still feel that feeling. So we're not talking about, a mental, I don't know what to call it here, like some kind of horrible thinking. It's just like one of the many things that you could possibly think. It's an interesting thought that you get to choose to dive into or not. It's just one of the many thoughts that arises in our mind. And you have to realize and remember that you are the soul, right? You're not your thoughts. You're the soul that houses the body. You are the soul that is the owner of the brain. It's your brain. It's your tool. Just like a computer is a tool that you can use to do a whole bunch of things, a brain is the computer of the body, so it's your tool. You own it. And if it pops up with, a suggestion that you don't really like and that isn't in alignment with your soul's core belief systems and values, and, then you don't have to choose that thought. You don't have to dive into it any deeper. So additionally, you get to choose a different thought. So that's where you do have control. And I know sometimes when we're in these states of being, these deep depressions and these suicidal ideations, it is very difficult to feel like that you have power and to feel like you have any sort of control at all over choosing a new better feeling thought. But you do. And I think it starts there first. We're understanding that you have power, right? You're a powerful being. And sometimes we have to honor it too, right? Acceptance is always the first step. Acceptance is the first step of all things. Of any kind of change of belief system, any type of changing of thought. You need to accept that that's what's going on, right? So it's okay to acknowledge. It's okay to go, hey, this is where I'm at. And then say afterwards that that's not where you want to stay. And then you get to say, well, here's some contrast, right? If this is where I don't want to be, and that is, where do I want to be? And then you get to choose what is going to be closer in alignment to where you want to be than where you currently are. Now, what does that mean? It means find the thing that feels a little better. And it's okay. I think a lot of times we try to go from 0 to 100 with our thoughts. You could be in a deep depression and then go, well, I want to be happy. Well, even the most content people with all of their needs met sometimes aren't happy, right? Even people that have no trauma, no pain, no loss, they aren't grieving, they aren't, even people that have like none of these extreme scenarios, no mental illnesses, no, right, aren't 100% happy all the time. So happiness, elation, these states of being, they can be, a high vibrational reach that's kind of like too high of an expectation at the moment when you're in a deep, dark depression or a suicidal ideation. So you have to look for what just feels better. What feels a little better? Well, going outside might feel better than being inside, right? Getting off the couch might feel better than being on the couch. Being in the shower might feel better than not being in the shower. Just start looking for some things that feel better. And then allow more joyous moments to come. Content is a good goal to reach for. If I'm in a deep, dark depression, I need to find content. I need to find what are the things that are in my life that are keeping me feeling this way, and eliminate them, right? How can I eliminate some things that are in my way? And then how can I add some things that maybe aren't here that need to be here, right? Maybe I need more people in my life that have joy already. Maybe I need to get around some of them and figure out what they're doing. Soak up that vibration. Because did you know that you can soak up somebody else's vibration? That you can get a little bit of a higher vibe just by osmosis? Just by being around some happy people. Have you ever walked in the room, right? You walk into a room and somebody was just having like an argument and you can feel the weight of that anger in the room, and suddenly you go, oh, you're not feeling so great anymore. You were having a good time and now you're like, what did I just walk into, right? Nothing's physically there. You can't touch it, right? But you can feel it. So sometimes there's some, a lingering energy from emotions. And that's the same with, positive energies too. Scott's been on here talking a lot about some biblical things. Like you walk into a church where a bunch of people are joyous and happy and praising, right? You feel that. You can feel that high vibration of people that are hopeful, joyful, happy. And if you get in that space, when you leave there, you're going to feel a little better, right? So that's true with all kinds of places. Anywhere focused on healing, you're going to feel a higher vibe. And you can just hang out in those places. And so your job when you're healing, your job when you're in these low vibrations, isn't to suddenly become all the way different. It's just to get a little better today. And you also have to let that be okay. You have to go out and seek the higher vibration and then try to hold on to it, maintaining your new vibrational state. That's a whole nother journey of learning to stay there. What do you guys think so far? What's up, Emily? So good to see you. I have to prop you guys up so I can do a pancake for my kid. So, you know, knowing how to get myself out of uncomfortable places gives me tons of motivation for life. When I feel like I don't have what it takes, when I feel like I don't know, when I feel like I don't have the answers, an answer, man, a solution to a problem is everything. That is everything. That can drastically change the way that you feel. And if you have hope or not. Because when you don't have the answer, then there's no hope. But if you have the answer and you can be on that path and be like moving towards your solution, that or the end result, right? Then you feel so much better. And then, so once you get there, once you've achieved your new vibrational state, then you also have to have something new to strive for. So there's times when you've achieved a place. So let's say you were in a suicidal ideation or a deep depression, and you've gotten out and you've achieved contentment. It's really normal for us to backslide into our old vibrational state if we don't find the next vibrational state that we need to begin to strive for. So that would look like, okay, so now you've achieved contentment for the first time in your life, maybe, who knows? And now you don't know what else to put in there. You know, you haven't started reaching towards true happiness, freedom, or fulfillment, or something like that, right? There's other higher vibrational states of being that you may have to start looking towards, or you'll stay the same, right? And they say get busy. Who is I can't even think of who it is that says get busy living or get busy dying, right? Because if we're not moving in some way, then we'll start to backslide a bit. So it's good to always have another goal and to know when you've kind of achieved where you're at. And how do we know that? Well, when you can hold your new vibrational state for a good length of time, like whatever feels good to you. What do you guys think? Where are you at? What kind of places are you in? What kind of hurdles are you trying to overcome? What keeps you from having hope? What keeps you from having motivation? Anybody feel brave today? Anything's in your way? Hey babes, Miss Ashley. We're talking about don't click off after I say this. Everything is in your way? Poor honey. Well, tell me a bit. Let's talk about it. What keeps you from having hope and motivation? What's the feelings? My dog is just like over there crying. China, what's wrong? What are you doing? It's always something. Yeah, I know that feeling. It sounds like overwhelm, where there's just a lot on your plate. I've been there. And overwhelm's funny because it means you're trying to fix a lot of things. And that can actually maybe be fixed with just a little switch of perspective, where if you can learn to focus in and move your thoughts from all the things to just one, right? Which can be like a little goal setting skills. Yeah, I do that. I am so prone to that. I have to make a lot of lists. Like I didn't used to be a list person, but I had to become a list person because I'm just so prone to overwhelm. So, you know, being able to, I try to think about things as all the stuff. Like, I have to fix my life. I gotta get my shit together. I need to, right? And in that is a lot of different little tiny things, right? So I could break it down. So it's all about breaking it down into digestible, bite-sized, human, you know, realistically achievable goals. I was the opposite with this. So, you know, I for some reason, and I think maybe all of us, like women and moms, are like this sometimes, but like I think I'm like a superwoman and I should be able to just do like everything in the entire world in one day and fix my life and everybody else's and do all the stuff in one day. And it's just not true. You know, we have to be a little easier on ourselves sometimes and give ourselves a little compassion in the same way that we would somebody else. You know, if my mom came to me and gave me a list of all the shit that I would normally put on myself and said, I'm going to do this today, I'd be like, what, are you crazy? Maybe pick one of those 20 things. You know, I wouldn't expect it out of anybody else, but then when it's me, I expect that, right? All this stuff. So, you know, like the house, like just cleaning the house. So overwhelmed and let so much get behind. Yeah. So you're hitting that fuck it button. I know where you're at, girl. Yeah. Get overwhelmed and then you give up and then it all falls apart, right? But it's about taking breaks and not quitting altogether and setting manageable goals. Like, you know, I'm back working at, for myself at home. And after like all of this time being gone all day long every day, like my entire house is trashed, it seems like. And I want the whole house clean and I want it clean right now. But, you know, we got to break it down into rooms and then break that room down into several smaller things, right? Even if all you can do is clean one closet or one corner of a place, like, let that be good and reward yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back too. You know, being able to reward your own self for your efforts and cheer yourself on as you move through the motions of life is paramount. Because you're the only one that can really know, you know, if something was a big deal for you to achieve or not, right? Because I've been in, like we started this whole thing off talking about being in a suicidal ideation state, right? And for me, when I was in suicidal ideation, getting off the couch was like a big deal. You know, getting out of the bed was a big deal. Now, maybe all the people around you wouldn't think that that's a big deal and wouldn't give you a pat on the back for that, since they've been telling you to get up and get a job and do all these things, right? But if it's a big deal for you, then you have to reward yourself for that. I just feel like, she says, I just feel like I don't know where to start anymore. I used to keep everything so well together and I just don't know what happened. Well, I know where to start. You have to start with you. You have to start inside in your internal world. See, our external worlds, that's a good, I'm so glad you brought that up actually, because I started this off talking about vibration and energy. And that vibration, our external worlds are a reflection of what's going on inside. So, you know, normally when things are messy outside of me, it's because I'm a wreck inside. And I'm going through a similar thing, trying to get everything back to a place where it used to be. And then also, you know, some of that weight you can, and responsibility, you can probably let go of. I think that because it's been so long, we forget that we're in the middle of a global pandemic still. And that global pandemic affected all of us. That global pandemic affected all of us. And everybody gained stress weight. Everybody, you know, fell into depressions. Everybody's mental and physical illnesses were exacerbated. Like, everybody's still going through this global pandemic. And I think that just because we've kind of gotten used to it and it became our new normal, we forgot that it was affecting us. But there's a bit of responsibility of, you know, things not feeling the way they used to that's not on you. So there is like a compassionate and loving thing to do would be to just let a little bit of that responsibility and weight off of your own shoulders and go, you know what? Everybody's going through this. There was a big thing that happened to all of us. I'm antisocial now since the pandemic. Yeah. I think I was antisocial before the pandemic, and now even worse. And now I'm just like, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm going to go home. So there's a rediscovery, you know, I think across the board for everybody right now, that there's a rediscovery of ourself, of what we want, you know. And then there's a lot of people have went through some pretty intense, like, spiritual crisis, and really just realizing that there's some new things that they might be prioritizing, right? A lot of people experienced a lot more deep love and connection with their families. A lot of people experienced a lot more freedom. A lot of people experienced a lot of things that they didn't even know that they needed on a deep and spiritual level. So there's kind of this existential crisis going on amongst all of humanity as well, which can be triggering some things, right? Maybe we're all kind of figuring out, how do I get back to who I used to be? And how do I integrate this totally new person that I didn't even know I needed, right? All of these new things. How do I integrate these deeper needs that I didn't even know I needed before? And that's heavy. So we got to cut ourselves a bit of a break too. So you start with you, right? When everything's messy outside and what's happening inside has rippled out and began to affect your outer world, you got to get back down to you. And you are not alone, because literally just did this last night. I felt like I was starting my entire healing and spiritual journey all over again. I had to get back down to the basics of my meditation practice that I haven't been doing, of my chakra cleansing that I haven't been doing. You know, this was like my day one journey stuff that I, you know, was trying to conquer 7 years ago. Like 7 years ago. And then so for, you know, that's kind of a hit, right? It's kind of a hit to your pride and your ego when you have to be like, ugh, how did I fall away, right? How did I get away from all of this stuff that was so deeply ingrained in me? Well, it's easy to. It's easy to when your whole world has been disrupted, which all of ours had. So it's okay to have to start over. It's okay to start over 20 million times if you need to, right? But we can do it, and that's okay. And there was things that about me starting my journey over just now. Hang on, y'all. Yes, baby.
I make a panda with body plate paper, and you make a raft toy.
You want to make a panda with the paper plates?
Yeah.
It was a project. It was a project that we saw. He wants to do. I guess we're gonna do crafts today. But yeah, so there's some things about my journey, starting my journey over, feeling like I'm back at the beginning, and some of the things were exactly the same, right? But then there was other things about feeling like I was starting over that were different, right? I've learned some things, I've grown, some situations that I've went through because of the pandemic, because of some other experiences that I've been through here recently, right? Shifted the way that I'm going to do this. So I think we're all kind of collectively just building a new foundation for who we are, for how we're going to live our lives, for our spirituality, for a lot of stuff. And that's all right. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes we get shaken up by spirit. Sometimes we have to knock down the building and build a stronger foundation so that we can have a stable place to build upon. And that is all okay. That is all okay. So if you guys are going through that, just know that that's all okay. And if you don't love, right, the reflection, if you don't love what's happening on an external basis right now, then start with you. Let's get quiet, right? Let's get to where we can hear ourselves. Let's get meditating. Ashley said she wants to start meditation, right? Start with chakras. That if you resonate with that, that's one of my favorite types of meditations to give to beginners, because it helps you to understand your spirit and all of your spiritual body parts, because your spirit has body parts just like your physical body has body parts, and they're called chakras, and each one does different things. And if you can get quiet with yourself and begin to learn, I hear myself too much. Well, take some time to listen to what all those things are saying and why, right? Because there's normally a reason, right? When you have like 20,000 thoughts in your head and they're all repeating, there's something in there, a reason why it's repeating. And there's an emotional process that's going to be attached, right? Every thought is attached to a feeling. And if you can continue to dive into that thought and start saying, why? Why am I thinking this thought? What is in here? What am I scared of? What's the feelings that are attached to this? What do I need to process through emotionally about it, right? And then sometimes there's some actions attached to it. Okay, well, I'm thinking this thought over and over and over again about this person, and it's really because I feel angry at them, and that anger is showing me that I need to set a boundary with them. So sometimes there's there's a thought, and then we can find the emotion, and then we can find the right action that needs to be done, so that we feel better about that situation, right? And it takes that time and that space to just sit with you and your own thoughts, to work through that process so that we can get rid of that thought. But they normally bug at us and nudge us for a reason. We just, emotions are uncomfortable to people. We don't get taught a lot about emotional intelligence in our society. So we do the thinking part, and then we never do the feeling part. You know a little bit about chakras? What do you know about chakras? I was feeling the same way here recent, that I had so many things going on in my head. And when I finally just said, okay, God, what do you want me to do? How can I get healthier right now? I was inspired to do the pretty colors. Yes. But that's us, man. We're all pretty colors like that. And when they're out of alignment, we feel really icky. There's like some things that can block them. Those energies with traumas, losses, thought, there's a lot of things that can block the flow of energy through our chakra system. Ashley knows more about chakras than that, you guys. But yeah, there's things that can block them, and if you can remove those things, by the process of doing those chakra meditations, then you get healthy. Did you know that all our physical things, they begin as spiritual issues? So what's inside will ripple out and manifest into physical issues if we don't grab a hold of them and fix them while they're on an energetic level. Because we'll have these spiritual nudges and then we'll ignore them, right? Because we get taught in our society to ignore things like that. And then we'll start to develop like a emotional or a mental issue. And then, we'll ignore those too. And then they'll start to manifest as a physical sickness. And that's when it gets really loud and we have to pay attention to it, right? Yeah. So you did a chakra reading with your tarot cards and root chakra is blocked. You know, a lot of people's root chakra is blocked. So that's not surprising at all. That's a difficult one. Spiritual issues, yeah. So, like, say you have a trauma. A spiritual issue would be something like a trauma that happened, you know, maybe you had a sexual trauma or, you know, a physical abuse trauma that could injure that root chakra. And there could be an energy that isn't supposed to be there in that root chakra so that it can't vibrate and spin like correctly. So then if that problem is ignored, then it manifests as other issues, right? You'll develop some emotional issues, problems connecting to other people, problems connecting to yourself. Like those are issues that can arise from having a root chakra spiritual issue. And then like if you ignore that, then it goes even further and you could develop, you know, a cancer or a, you know, ovarian cyst or a, you know, like in that area, some kind of physical issue in that area that could manifest from those things. So like if you can learn to acknowledge the issues at first, right? When they start nudging at you, which it's hard to do, right? Because we're so disconnected from our spirits. But doing those chakra exercises, learning to get with and tune in to each one of your chakras on a daily basis to where you know how you feel when you're at your optimal spiritual level, then when there's something slightly off with one of your chakras, then you'll know almost immediately. And then you can go fix that problem, release it while it's still very energetic, right? And then it never has to kind of ripple out into emotional, mental, physical issues. And so I think that like I do self-discovery with people a lot, like first, you know, if somebody, any of those people that are like on my How to Wear a Crown journey and stuff like that, like it's all about self-discovery. It's all about getting to know yourself. And when you're like, that's like knowing yourself on the deepest levels is when you can understand your spirit and your chakra system, I feel. My opinion, just my opinion though. I'm pacing around the house like a crazy person. I'm thriving today, y'all. If you didn't catch the beginning of the video, I'm on my nutrition. I've got my, where is it? I need a map because I'm lost. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I remember learning about it and being like, are these people on mushrooms? What are they talking about? But, I have a phone call. Oh, my patch. Maybe the patch. This is a Thrive. This is Thrive. It's a nutritional thing I do. And it's like, this is a patch. There's capsules. Let me show you. That's not the front. There we go. There's like a capsule that you take, like vitamin. It's all vitamins. It's just vitamins and nutrition. It was like developed by scientists. I have a link if you ever want it. Try it. It's expensive as fuck, but it's so worth it. Like, it's like $170 a month. But it is so good. Somebody gave it to me as a present a few years ago. And I've not stopped doing it since. And then I actually, there's other products too besides like the 170. It's like the 3 main products that you do. It was like developed by scientists to make like all the nutrition that we don't get from our normal diets. And you do, sounds crazy, but it really makes a difference. I've been doing it for years. And then there was some times where I stopped doing it because I thought, well, this is so expensive and I could just probably find cheaper products. But then I always come back to it because it's so good. And nothing makes me feel like this. And there's like all the caffeine in the world couldn't make me feel the energy that I feel when I have this stuff. Because it's like real energy, like lasting, sustainable energy. And it's like just from like real, actual healthy stuff. So like you do those and then you make a shake. And this like gives you vitamins all day long. But I'm not here to talk about Thrive. But if you ever want to talk about Thrive, I can. In a message, I'll tell you all about it. Send you a link if you ever want to try. I started off this whole video talking about Thrive though, because we, you know, our physical bodies get in the way a lot of our like being able to feel mentally better, physically, mentally better and emotionally better, like the depression and stuff. You know, if I don't, my body doesn't feel like it has what it needs, and I don't feel very motivated to do the other things that I need that can make me feel better. And it's just kind of a vicious cycle where you stay falling back and back and back into that depression. Yeah, you should give it a shot, for real. I mean, if it doesn't work for you, like, that's what I tell everybody. If it doesn't work, like, you don't have to get it again, but something that can improve your life that much is always worth a shot. And that's kind of how these journeys are, too. Like, you gotta, like, try things on for size. Like, everybody's walks and paths in life will be different than the next person, but you just gotta try things, and if it doesn't work for you, then, you know, throw it out and try something else. We all kind of get that freedom to build our own toolkit of what, you know, our recoveries, our healing, our best spiritual pathways look like. I saw Kelsey pop on, I think. Where'd you go? What up, girl? Yeah, anytime I got my shake in my hand, I at least have to do a shout out for Thrive. I love it so much. So, we've talked a lot today. We talked about Thrive. We talked about our physical bodies. We talked about the 4 different bodies and how they all link together. Sorry, I've blown the chat up. No, I'm so glad you're here. You blowing nothing up, girl. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming and having a conversation with me today. This is Motivation Monday. This is my first Monday. I'm going to be doing 3 groups, you guys. Or about 3 lives with chat group feature. And Motivation Monday, Worthy Wednesday, and Free Flow Friday. And they are going to be at 10 o'clock. All 3 of those days, and there's just going to be a free thing that I do to just check in with everybody and talk to you guys and just give back to my community a little bit. I used to do these kind of things all the time on my lives, like every single morning, and I miss it. And I miss like hanging out with you guys like this. I used to get so much out of it, and all of the people have, you know, always give me such good feedback and say they get so much out of it, and they miss that I'm doing it. So start up some commitments again. What else have we talked about? We also talked about suicidal ideation. We talked about depression. We talked about how, you know, suicidal ideation really is just wanting to leave like a current vibrational state of being rather than leaving and exiting the whole world, right? It's hard to deal with those things sometimes. But I think understanding energy and understanding my spirit was life-changing. I mean, when I found meditation, when I learned about my chakra system, I mean, I was in some pretty sorry states. I was in some bad states. You guys that have read my book, you know my story, you know that I hated myself. I just didn't even like who I was. So understanding who I was on those deeper levels was a game changer. So we talked about that. We talked about how to gain motivation through, knocking down some barriers, finding the barriers to you having motivation and hope, finding the things that you feel like are missing in your life that you need to maybe add, like connection to other human beings, like meditation practices, so that you can get those more like deeper things that you need. We talked a lot about our chakra systems, and that was really cool. We talked about nutrition. So, any final words, you guys? Oh, wait, we also talked about, before we wrap it, we also talked about the pandemic. We talked about how this whole global pandemic is still affecting us today. Even though we've gotten used to it and it's kind of become a normal, that it still had a big impact on us, and we have to kind of let go of some of the responsibility for the mess in our minds. Yeah, what's up, girl? One last thing before we go? Love to hear it. We covered a lot of ground. This was a good first Motivation Monday on the live, I think. Ashley says, I'm curious about your thoughts on soul families. Well, first, I believe in them 100%. Yeah, we should get together and just chat, just me and you. It's been a while since we got to talk. I believe in them 100%. I think that they're soul everything. I think that I call my dogs my soul dogs. I know they were meant for me. I know that I have soul clients. I mean, even my clients that come to me, like, aren't just random people or random clients. I mean, these are people that heal my soul just through working with them. They're synchronistic. God shows me signs and synchronicities of that the people are coming before they enter my life. Then I get to work with them, and then we have these amazing experiences. And then at the end, it's like synchronistic, like that it's time to leave. I mean, it's just like incredible. Soul mate, husband, soulmate, friends, soulmate, everything. I think that and it's all comes back down to that vibration and that energy, right? What are you a vibrational match for? And I think that there's people or other spirit, right? Other souls that we kind of like, we make contracts, like soul contracts. I think we get to, we map out sort of like what we're going to do here in the world, that the world is kind of like school, earth school. And it helps us to learn more about ourselves and to grow as a spiritual being. And we get to like plan out, that like you and we were going to do this thing together for this purpose. And so we're attracted, right, naturally to those people who we made some agreements with. That's like that love at first sight. You hear that? Love at first sight. I think that's what that is. It's like, I know you already, right? And that can happen with any kind of relationship dynamic. So it's so amazing. And that just I think the idea of that really makes me feel super supported by the universe, that, I'm known and that I had a part in it. I had a part in the creation of my life. It's me like co-creating this thing with God and with my fellow like spirits, and that we get to, that it's on purpose, that I don't have to worry so much about my conscious human decision-making skills, if you will. Let's, take some pressure off. That and then what does my job become, right? After that, what does my job become? So if it's not my logical human mind that I have to rely on, then it's my spirit, it's my intuition, it's my ability to stay in tune with my spiritual guidance and to know and understand how God speaks to me, and then to be obedient to that, right? That when God says go, that you go. When God says do, that you do. Whatever it is. And the more that you get in tune, right? Like the chakra system that we're talking about, the more that you're meditating, the more that you're getting in tune with that chakra system, and the more that you know and understand yourself, and you know and understand God, and you know what that relationship feels like and looks like, and how God talks to you, then the easier it gets, right? The easier it gets. Because then you'll start to hear, right? Hear being a funny word, because God talks to everybody in different ways, and it's not always going to sound like a verbal, like a audible sort of thing. Some people do. Some people hear it like that. But there's many, many ways that God can speak to you. So I think it's all about that. And trusting those things. Because a lot of people, like, with, you know, you're talking about soul families and soulmates, and, you know, a lot of people would feel that love at first sight, right? And then they'd convince themselves that this person was completely wrong for them because they didn't fit, you know, an idea of what they had originally planned out themselves, right? Of what they look, you know, what they were looking for, or what have you. So learning to trust, all of that makes those things a lot easier. What a beautiful thing to end. Thank you for that question, Ashley. That felt like such a beautiful way to wrap it up. Like, but I think even on a grander scale, everything is on purpose. Everything has a reason. Just like all of you that were here right now was on purpose, you know. The conversations that took place were on purpose. I believe 100% that everybody who was here attending with me and that will come back for the replay heard a message that they were supposed to hear, right? That I ask for that, and I believe that, right? Before I come on, I pray and I ask God to work through me and speak through me and talk to the people. And, you know, this went, if I tried to plan this thing out, who knows what would have came out of my mouth, like probably some crazy stuff. But we talked about what we talked about, right? And everybody's going to have their experience with that. It's going to help somebody in some way. And that's what's so amazing about just following a spiritual guidance, is that things happen that are limitless and beyond your imagination of what could possibly be achieved. You know, the things that I'm allowed to put out into the world, that God comes through me and works through me, and then people come back and they tell me things that helped them, and they were not the parts that I thought would help them, right? It's never the parts that, like, I worked really hard at or studied a lot for, or, you know what I mean? It's never those things. It's normally just like some random story that I didn't know was going to come out of my mouth, and people say, oh, that was so good, you know. So we also got to remember that it doesn't have to be so hard unless we let it. Our walks get to feel good, and our paths get to feel good, and gets to be easy, and we get to do our inspired action, right? But we have to surrender to a higher power and surrender to some divine guidance, you know, that knows more than me, knows more than us, leading us to, you know, that God's will for us. Well, you are so welcome, Ashley. She said thank you. You're so welcome, and I love all you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let me walk back outside for 1 second. I need to ground a little bit. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. This was so fun to just channel some spirit and some wisdom for you guys, and hang out with you and connect with you, and it's making me feel great. It's making my day great. I hope that you guys show up on Wednesday and Friday, and I get to see you come back every week. I'm just really honored that you would choose to spend some time with me. And I'm gonna let you guys go, but anybody who hasn't, you want to make that bird too? Anybody who hasn't gotten, you were so meant to be here. Thank you for having this conversation with me, Ashley. Anybody who hasn't gotten a free self-worth survival kit from my I Am Raquel Academy, if you just inbox me an emoji of a crown, I will send you a link so that you can get your free gift. Everybody gets a free gift. And I love you guys. Have a good day. Let's go. Stay motivated. Try to take the energy and the vibrations that you got from this space today, carry it into your lives, do something with it, take care of yourselves, and just know that you're powerful beings that create your reality, and you have that, right? You always have the power to make your life the way that you want it. You get to create a life that you love, and you're loved by God. You're supported by an entire spiritual team. The whole universe loves you. Bye.